Hey everybody. We'll get started here in just a couple of minutes, just waiting for the co-chairs. I'm gonna go ahead and put the agenda in the chat. Um, if you guys are just joining us, go ahead and put your name and organization in the chat too. Hi, Anne. Hi, Erin. Hey, Sam. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, thanks, Erwin. Thanks.
Sorry, Dana, there was a Teams link that I ended up sitting in.
Oh, that's weird. No, we're not on Teams. I'll make sure I delete that from future meetings. Um, Sam, I don't know if Mary texted you, but she got stuck in a rock fall cleanup.
Oh, fun.
So she's gonna be a few minutes late.
That's
Um,
fun.
but yeah, I think we can go ahead and get started. Let me just
Mm.
find.
Not sure why my video's not working, but it's probably for everybody's
That's
benefit.
all right. I doubt that. Do you want me to just do Mary's parts until she gets here?
All right, Ken, hang on. Just open up the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead and start it us. Why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Yeah, cool. Well, welcome everybody to our quarterly RTCC meeting. This is the last one of the year. So, um, yeah, we'll probably be here until, I don't know, 11:15, maybe 11. We'll see how it goes. I did have folks do intros in the chat. We have about 20 people on. I don't know. Sam, do you want to take time to do intros around the room?
I think, yeah, if everybody can just pop their intro into the chat. I know I'm a little bit late here. But yeah,
That's okay.
but that's fine. And we can just get rolling. We've got Ann here, so when it's gonna take us 15 minutes to get through intros, we might as well go this way.
Perfect. Great. Excellent. Um, Welcome, and thank you for coming and sharing with us about some legislative updates. You can feel free to share your screen if you need to.
Okay, thanks. I'm Ann Rajewski with the Colorado Association of Transit Agencies, and thanks for working with my busy meeting schedule today. I appreciate you putting me first. Um, there's not a ton to share yet, but I'll tell you some of the things that we're hearing have dramatic impacts on transit agencies. And so one of those things is a bill that's being sponsored by Representative Joseph. She's a Denver Metro representative. She's working with an RTD board member to put together a bill that's called the Transit Equity Bill. Let me run through the provisions quickly. It requires agencies to offer free or 50% discounted fares to individuals at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. And it requires a 60% enrollment that must be met by 2030 of those folks. It also has a homeless partner pass program, which mandates 6-month minimum unlimited transit passes for individuals experiencing homelessness, which is distributed through local shelters. Language access requires translation of key transit information into languages spoken by um, groups in the community that are equal to or greater than 5% of the county population with limited English proficiency. The restroom access for long haul routes, equal or greater than 3-hour routes. Agencies must provide alternative restroom access if onboard facilities are unavailable. And transparency and reporting. Agencies must display updated maps, fare structures, and discount program info and submit annual reports on implementation, equity impacts, and restroom access. On the face of this, it doesn't look as challenging as it may have ended up being. Mountain Metro Transit here in Colorado Springs on the Front Range calculated that it would probably cost them about $3 million to implement. By the time you manage the programs, they figure about 70% of their riders would fall within the 200% of the federal poverty level. And the challenge is the advertising and stuff it would cost them to get 60% enrollment by 2030. You know, it starts to be advertising, it starts to be people to manage this large of a program for a larger agency like that. The Homeless Partner Pass program also causes concerns for agencies like them and others in the sense that once you start having folks who are homeless ride transit regularly, they sometimes do not have a destination. And then it starts to be the situation where you need security folks at the end of routes to move them off the vehicles. If you have any sort of rules of riders that they can't ride the same vehicle around the route they're on all day, that kind of thing, to get them to not just kind of settle in for the day on a vehicle. So there's been challenges like that they experienced during COVID that they would expect to come back that way. The other pieces are not as concerning. The language access, most agencies do that already. They're required by the FTA to do that. Restroom access, most agencies other than bus staying don't typically do equal to or longer than 3-hour routes. The transparency and reporting is not too much of a problem for most agencies because, again, it just makes sense for agencies to have updated maps and fare structures and that sort of information on their website and available. The concern is for many agencies in the state, they don't have dashboards where they show kind of their implementation reports and their equity impacts and that kind of stuff. And so it would be a heavy lift, especially for smaller rural agencies in our state. So I talked last week with Representative Joseph and the RTD board member that's been kind of proposing this bill and working on it. And what I heard at that meeting was that they are putting together a new draft that may be significantly different. So I think we're hoping that it is a little bit less of has less kind of stringent requirements to meet. I think agencies are also concerned about the aspect of equity because it's such a challenging idea, and most agencies have taken any sort of DEI and equity stuff off their websites because at the federal level, they're being told that if they go down that path and talk about equity, encourage DEI, that their funding may be taken away. So there's a lot of challenges in today's political world with agencies in our state. Most agencies in our state, if you look at a pie chart about overall, including RTD, about 25% of the funding for transit in the state of Colorado comes from federal sources. For some smaller agencies, that's a higher percentage. For larger agencies, it's typically a lower percentage. But there's a lot of impacts if some of the work we're doing here raises concerns at the federal level. And so beyond the money, there's the federal level concern. There's these pieces that make it challenging for transit agencies to implement. So we'll see what the next iteration of the bill looks like. There's been a lot of pushback from CML. There's been pushback from transit agencies themselves. Even some homeless shelters in rural parts of the state have had concerns about their part in administering a program that would provide transit for the folks they're working with. Sam?
Yeah, and thanks for the update on that. I actually did get the opportunity to give feedback to CML on that bill. They reached out to our town manager who reached out to me, and so I felt lucky to do that. I hope that if whatever they do come up with, that they give transit agencies the ability to comment on those restrictions, and that's the only thing that I was afforded that opportunity, but I know not everybody was. And so if you have the opportunity to pass that word along in any of your conversations, that would be awesome, because my big red flag was that enrolling 60% of eligible riders in the fare discount program is the burden of that on agencies is gonna be massive.
Very high. Yeah. Well, part of the problem is that the bill was thought up by and being pushed by an RTD board member. And he kind of thinks he knows what transit agencies can and can't do, despite his not as much knowledge about rural agencies and smaller agencies than RTD. So it's been a little bit of a challenge because I think there's a perception that they know what transit agencies can and can't do and what's workable and what's not workable. So that's part of the rub, is that they think the person that really is behind this bill is a transit guy. So um there's
Yikes.
yes. I mean, I'm trying not to be cranky pants about it, but it's a little bit rough because of that. So
Okay, thanks.
yeah, and it's not that, it's not that any of us want to not serve certain portions of our community. It's just that it's challenging when you have these outside pressures of these high, like you said, 60% enrollment target it's a lot. So anyway, we're going to keep working on that. If you have, once the new bill comes out, I could share the new language. I could share it with Dana, and then if she could send it out to the rest of you, I would be happy to take comments. I just emailed back with Representative Joseph's office yesterday that we're really wanting to weigh in on the next iteration. And so if I send it out to Dana, Dana, can you send it out to the group? And then if anybody has any comments, if you could get them back to me um, over the next few days after that happens, that would be super helpful for me, because I think providing a little context about the impacts of this bill beyond the scope of RTD is really helpful. And I think what's made a difference so far is organizations like CML and CASTA and other folks that are like, this maybe makes sense in in RTD's district, but it doesn't look the same when you're not in the metro area. So any other comments? Dana, I'm hoping
Yeah,
that's okay if I
I'm
sign you
happy.
up for that. Okay, great.
Yes, absolutely. Happy to send it out to folks and get you comments.
Super. Another thing I wanted to mention is that I know there's been some discussion among this group about non-emergent medical transportation. And I think that some of you, although you're thinking about it, are not on the bulletin email list of updates, which I am not either. I think you have to be a provider to be able to actually be on the list and get the bulletins. But the NEMT program director sent me the bulletin, the most recent bulletin, because it had the update about the NEMT statewide brokerage. And the update is that they have hired this new company, Mendy Ride, and they will be taking over the statewide brokerage as the new year starts. I say taking over, they will be establishing the statewide brokerage starting after the new year. The brokerage will not go into place until July 1. Oh, I can share this. I'll share this text too with Dana, and you can get it out. But anyway, they'll be working on starting to transition the credentialing process over to the new organization over the spring next year. And then the new statewide brokerage will start July 1. So we're all hoping that that goes more smoothly than it has in the past. The credentialing continues to be a really big challenge for agencies. And it's the sort of like the craziness of all your drivers are getting credentialed, things are fine, and then all of a sudden you're doing it the same way, but now you have a driver that's turned down for the training that has passed credentialing for the last 6 months. And so every time they get a new person, it's like this whole process of retraining them. I'm hoping the new brokerage will have a better information exchange and better training for new folks so that it can be more consistent as they move forward. So we'll see how all that goes. I'll share the announcement from the bulletin with Dana and she can send it out to the group. Any questions on that? The other thing I think that I got from the bulletin that I believe I read correctly, I'm still trying to find out. I got the bulletin yesterday and I haven't been able to clarify, but it looks like for the last year or so, they have not allowed any new NEMT providers. And it sounds like with the new statewide brokerage, the new company transitioning into place, that they will be accepting applications for new NEMT providers. So if any of you were kind of holding out and hoping to get into the NEMT work, I think the opportunity will come in the next summer. All right. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is the work. CAST is looking for a bill sponsor for a bill that what has happened, as you all know, many of you are in RTAs already, is that we have kind of we're taking kind of a regional approach to supporting transit in our state because we haven't been able to pass, a statewide ballot to support transportation in general, including transit. And so transit has gone to this more regional approach. And the problem with that is for other rural folks that are not in an area that has a really strong economic driver. And so I'm looking at like Southeast Colorado, and I'm looking at some areas of the West Slope where they just don't have a super strong, like they don't have a ski area, that kind of stuff. And so there's some challenges that those folks are facing in order to provide regional transit from in an area that is maybe more politically conservative and doesn't support transit as strongly as transit is supported by other parts of the state. And so we're working on a bill that would allow regions in Colorado to, through intergovernmental agreements, create, we're calling it a rural transit zone. So it wouldn't be an RTA, but it would function fairly similarly as an RTA in the sense that it could consolidate services, it can provide services, it can get grants, all the different things that a regional transit agency can do. And we're hoping that it creates some efficiencies for some regions of our state and some agencies that are already providing regional transit, but they're outgrowing kind of the umbrella organization that has been hosting them, or they're a nonprofit and they can't access certain things because they're a nonprofit. So we're looking for a sponsor of that bill right now. We'll see how it goes, but that's something CASTA is working on because we think it'll provide some stability for some of the regional services in our state, in the more rural, kind of sparsely rural populated areas of our state. So yeah, it could be beneficial to rifle and silt, kind of places that don't have like an economic anchor. All right, any questions
Yeah, I
about
think
that?
this is really good timing. I think it's really good timing to share this and given what's happening in parts of our region with rural transportation funding going away and folks really wanting to be part of an RTA but not quite sure what that would look like. Um, so yeah, I think we'll hear more about that from Hannah here on the agenda.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you think your area might be interested in that, let me know, because we're looking to be able to, first of all, we're looking for sponsors for the bill, and it's helpful if we can find a sponsor of an area that would be interested. And it helps make the bill seem more necessary if there's other parts of the state. Right now, we're looking at Southeast Colorado and an region on the West Slope. So let me know if you think your area might be interested in heading towards this path. So I think that's it, unless there's any questions.
Thanks, Ann. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
I
Thank you,
think
Anne.
we did skip the approval of meeting minutes, and I have been reminded that we are now we now are a gosh, what do we call it? A consensus board. So I think we can approve those minutes by me just saying, does anybody have any comments on the meeting minutes and or disagree with them from last time? So seeing none, I'll say that we have approved our meeting minutes from our last meeting. And I think the next thing on our agenda, so we shifted things around a little bit, is um, uh, do you have a NEMT update for us, Mary?
Everyone. I think, essentially the update that I have is ties in well with what Anne was talking about, and that is that at RAFTA, Dawn, Dexter and I are looking at ways that we can maybe help in this situation of essentially getting people to where they need to go. And so we're working on a few proposals that we have not officially proposed yet, but are just kind of doing the legwork in order to figure out how that might look, so that when we do propose it to RAFTA, that we have our ducks in a row. And so currently the way it looks, and Dawn, feel free to jump in at any point, but currently the way it looks is that we have a discount card program where ex-military or military veterans, current military, Medicare, Medicaid, or folks that are already qualified for ADA paratransit are able to go through a series of hoops in order to get a discount card to ride the bus. And that discount card gives them $1, charges them $1 per ride. And what we've discovered, both with Dawn's experience personally in this arena, in addition to I'm currently attending the Crossray subcommittee on NEMT that meets, it's a statewide subcommittee that meets once a month. And that committee, plus Dawn's experience, even that dollar sometimes is a barrier to getting people to ride the bus for a variety of reasons, but primarily, looking at how we can help people like get across county lines that need to get across county lines within this region in order to get to doctor's appointments without having any barriers. So our proposal is that we would like to create a program to where, instead of people being charged the $1, that they would get to ride the bus for free, and the discount card would become more like a free fare card, that they would be able to ride the bus in order to get to where they need to go. Dawn, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I'll just add a slight correction. The select discount card program that we have, people have to apply for it and show some evidence that they're a veteran or that they have a disability. And that only gives them a half price discount on rides. They still have to pay like the fare. It's just half the fare. So it's more than $1. And once they have that select discount card, here's a barrier. Even if a barrier that's not actually related to cost is that in order to purchase half price tickets at RAFTA, they have to take that select discount card to a physical location. They can't use their discount on our RAFTA ticketing app or at the TVMs, which creates more of a barrier for them to get that. So that's one of the reasons why I would advocate for, like, let's just make that let's just get rid of the select discount card, make those rides fare free for those persons, and not make them jump through extra hoops to buy discounted tickets. But otherwise, I'm on the same page as you. I'd like to see us, regardless of whether someone's a Medicaid or a Medicare patient, or maybe it's internally we have to have these discussions, but maybe if they're a Medicaid patient or they're a Medicaid recipient, that's their evidence that they need to have free rides. That's kind of one of the things that we're floating, but otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, and just to give like a tiny bit of context to the group, Dawn and I were talking one day, as we enjoy to do, because both of us have a lot to say about different things, and realize that our jobs have a lot of crossover. As the mobility coordinator at RAFTA, that job title oftentimes includes working with a variety of populations, including ADA and paratransit. And at RAFTA, that job title did not include that, but we were finding that the crossover became particularly evident when Dawn looks at information, for example, looks at information that talks about, a person was getting picked up at a certain location with ADA paratransit or the senior van. And then just across the street, there's a microtransit van picking up someone else, and it could have maybe been the same ride. So we kind of started talking about how we could collaborate and look for ways, and to basically look for ways that we can provide more efficient services within RAFTA. And this was one of the things that we started to look at more closely, given that I was attending those NEMT cross-race subcommittee meetings. So we're hoping to get this this idea up and running as soon as possible. We've worked with another staff member who was really savvy at rewriting the discount card program that we currently have to make it more into what Dawn and I were thinking about with this particular scope of work. So crossing our fingers that everything's gonna go smoothly with that. Does anyone have any questions or comments? And
also, oh, go ahead.
I do, but I couldn't find my hand raised situation. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make a comment, which is I think it's really smart that you're going this direction, and that this is something that I think they're going to look at more statewide at our CMAC meeting in November. Anybody who's involved with this should come, because we're going to have the NEMT program manager come talk about using public transit and fixed route transit to provide access to NEMT riders for just this sort of situation. So I hope that any of you who are kind of thinking about this come to that CMAC meeting, if you're not already on the invitation list, drop me your email here in the chat and I'll get you invited.
Thanks, Anne. That's good information.
Yeah, I think
Dana.
Both.
it'll be efficient and helpful, hopefully, to the writers.
Yeah, and I think having this on the agenda, we were hoping to have kind of a little bit of a group discussion. I don't know if other transit agencies or agencies providing some sort of transportation are looking at something similar to what RAFTA is doing or wanting to learn more. So I just wanted to open it up.
I'd want to add that what RAFTA is like, Mary and I have something to propose for RAFTA to do, but no decision makers at RAFTA have said, yes, we're doing that. I have a feeling that we will be able to show them that it will remove some really what looks like nonsensical barriers to me and to Mary, but and that we might be able to show that it will have a minimal impact on RAFTA's bottom line, but have an outsized impact on the people that will be affected to make their lives a little easier. So yeah, we haven't got a stamp of approval yet, but I'm hoping we'll be able to persuade. And in my mind, I would like to see, as soon as you are approved for Medicaid in Colorado, that just means you're approved for public transportation. Like you're able to get on any public transportation in Colorado, like especially if you can get on fixed routes that you don't have to apply for a special program. That would just seem like wise stewardship of taxpayer dollars at the state and local levels. And yeah, so that's my hope.
Thanks, Dawn. That's super helpful. And good luck. Hopefully they're receptive to that because I think this would be really impactful and yeah, removing.
Yeah, we feel good about our proposal, so we're just kind of waiting for a meeting that we have upcoming that we'll be able to chat more about it. So we feel very confident with it, though.
That's awesome. Good work, guys.
Thank
So if we don't have any further conversation about that, I'll keep us moving along. And next on what is going on with transportation in Western Garfield County, Hannah? I'm hoping that you can give us some updates.
There's moving parts. It's having a moment and it's in all of the meetings. And I was trying to think about where to start. So I think I'll start with my group. So for folks on the call who don't know me, I'm a community organizer based in Rifle, and I do organizing work around issues that impact quality of life for folks in Garfield County. And community members had lifted up that transportation was not being addressed, but was impacting many other issues, such as like childcare access, healthcare access, equity issues. So this whole project got started as a community-driven, organized approach to like the community members who are impacted by travel having a voice and being able to hopefully collaborate with existing entities and institutions and elected officials and get some things moving. Over the past year, my volunteers collected a bus survey that we put out to everybody, although we were mostly targeting residents of Rifle and Silt. And it differed a little from RAFTA's survey in that it wasn't just bus riders. It was just anybody and everybody and what's their relationship with transportation. And our hope was to get a feel for what people like, why people aren't using it, what barriers are they facing, what would make an ideal transit system in a rural area like we live in that does have some economic challenges, and y'all are kind of familiar with the area. And then present that to our elected officials to demonstrate that like this is a community need that people care about, Or is it? We didn't know what the results of our survey would be. We kept this survey going for a really long time. It's hard to get survey responses. But in the end, we collected 376 responses. 159 of those came from Rifle and 75 from Silt residents. So we did get strong numbers in the two towns we were targeting. We targeted those two because they are not RAFTA members, but they do receive RAFTA services. And then our volunteers presented the results of the survey to the Silt Board of Trustees and the Rifle City Council last month. Mostly to kind of make a show of, what they found and community support. We also had organized a strong turnout at both of those meetings. So in both cases, it was standing room only. Although if you've ever been to Silt Town Hall, you know that that's not a lot of people, like 15 folks in the audience is standing room only. But that's what we had. And then over 30 folks attended in Rifle, which for those meetings is really unusual. You don't usually get strong turnout to the local council meetings. But to give you all a quick snapshot of what our surveys found, honestly, it was stuff that I feel like anecdotally if you live around here, but it was nice to have some numbers to back it up. People they feel favorably about public transit and they just want more of it. The biggest barriers to riding were the limited service. By far, what people wanted the most was more frequent buses and more broader schedules and better access to bus stops. Silt, for example, has almost no sidewalks. And Dana and Mandy can attest to this for sure. Like you cannot cross from South Silt into North Silt on foot. Like there's barriers to even getting to the only bus stops in the town. Rifle has a lot of hills and highways and, rivers divide all these towns. So it was really pragmatic stuff. People want access to bus stops. They want more frequent buses that work with their schedules. And they want a larger variety of destinations for those buses. What was not super important to folks or what was not large barriers were things that were more like minor conveniences, I would maybe say, like the quality of the bus shelters or the cost of the fares. Our survey came back with those being really low hurdle barriers. Most people were not concerned about them. People were really not concerned about any like stigma attached to public transit, which you might see over in the Front Range where the system's a little different. Like people over here feel safe riding the bus and comfortable, and the bus is viewed well. They want more of it. Um, I'll also point out that people really leaned into wanting bus access for services other than commuting, which I think is in opposition to the common narrative you hear from our elected officials out here is that, oh, this bus is just to move people to their jobs. But when we went and talked to people, we were also holding like conversations with people and going door to door. And that's not reflected in the numbers of the survey, but that people want to access shopping and they want to go to their medical appointments and they want to go to community events and everything that anybody would use a car for. People want that in their public transit system, and those were like high priorities. And I think on that, we kind of got the elected officials' attention that if you can get more people to the services and the businesses in your town, that benefits the whole community. And that's what people are really asking for is access to, Grand River Health and access to the youth theater and access to the brewery. And people just want to be able to move around the places where they live. We also hypothetically asked a question, would you support a half-cent sales tax increase in your municipality? And that was very much meant to mimic the existing funding mechanisms that current RAFTA members have. The price, the tax range was kind of in there. It's a sales tax. We didn't say that explicitly in the question, but it was just kind of like, hey, would you vote to tax yourself if it meant breaded transit? And take this with whatever grain of salt you want, but it was overwhelmingly a yes from Rifle and Silt residents. Like, I don't remember the exact numbers, but think above 70% of folks said they'd support that type of a tax. That comes with caveats. We're not my volunteers and I aren't statisticians. This wasn't like a peer-reviewed type of a report. But from the folks that we did survey, there was strong support. So I think while I don't think any tax measure passes by that type of a margin in these down valley communities. It definitely piqued my interest, and I'm hoping kind of catches the attention of others, because while all this was going on, we're facing severe funding cuts from the county, which has been subsidizing the bus service that the Down Valley community does have. And so the timeline of this was kind of interesting. And I like to think that my community members had hopefully an impact on this. As the Board of County Commissioners was developing their draft budget, they last year had funded the hogback line, which serves my communities, to the tune of just over $500,000, and their draft budget had reduced the funding for RAFTA services down to zero. And then we had our presentations to our communities. The following week, the mayors of all of the communities in Garfield County met with the Board of County Commissioners to discuss this. And what I heard from that meeting was that there was unanimous consensus from the mayors that transportation was extremely important and they needed that funding to not be cut down to zero. And the following day at the next budget hearing, the CEO of RAFTA went up before the county commissioners where they told him they would return half of the funding. So $250,000 for the hogback line, just to keep it inching along a little further, but they were really clear that a different solution for funding needs to be devised. And I think we all expected that. They also cut PATS, the Parachute Area Transit Service budget, and PATS in turn asked Rifle for more money. And like, it's just as the funding is being taken away, it's at the time where people are using the service more. And so my group is trying to stay engaged in, there's going to be some meetings coming up next month where folks are still talking about this locally, but definitely from my perspective as a community organizer, like our plan for Western Colorado Alliance members is to engage pretty heavily in pushing our municipalities or whoever for something to go to the voters to get some firm and dependable funding for transit services. And we also very much intend to engage at the state level. So that report out from CASTA about what to expect in the legislative session is super useful. And I'd love to be kept in the loop of that because we've got the ability to turn out folks to testify at committee hearings and lobby our representatives here on the West Slope. And that's kind of I'm looking forward to that. That's fun. So I love getting community members into those positions of being able to engage in the civic process and have a strong showing on stuff that definitely tends to fly under the radar, especially from underrepresented rural areas. So that's my spiel. What did I miss, guys? There's more going on than just that, but I feel like half the folks on this call are.
I think that was the big area of interest, is especially with, knowing for me, knowing that the hogback funding and where that was at, huge to know. And I I think I'll speak for Anne and say that I think that she likes to hear about anybody who can turn out people for transportation related issues. So hopefully you guys can connect if you haven't already. My question is, do you see the RAFTA membership getting on the ballots? I mean, is that an actual possibility anytime soon, or maybe that's a question you can't answer?
I think it might be. Well, so my folks are going to try to force the issue, basically. And we've been kind of approaching this as like wanting to be as collaborative as possible. And from our point of view, it seems that like, I don't even know how to put this without sounding just dramatic, but like historical feuds seem to have been preventing a lot of like forward progress. But as we're seeing some either turnover in elected positions, with the exception of our county commissioners, I like I would like to find a way to go around the county and let this go to the towns and let the people actually engage in it. So many of the folks we talk to have no idea how the funding is distributed and why the services are how they are, which I think will not come as a surprise to anybody. But yeah, like the average resident has no idea why RAFTA doesn't come here more frequently. And then they misattribute the blame. And as soon as you mention that this is a voter issue or how the other municipalities got into it, like just that little bit of information campaign changes the whole perspective. So as a community group, that's something that we could engage in readily is an information campaign, neighbor to neighbor campaign, something to just educate folks. But we've been kind of I've been hoping that the powers that be will come up with a solution that we can get behind, but we are definitely looking at like around February to start getting serious about getting something on the ballot, because if we can't get city councilors to approve a ballot measure referral, we need that petition signatures. All the folks that I'm like representing would like to have a say in this. I would like to bring something to a vote, and whether that's like a more traditional like joint RAFTA with this tax funding, or if it's, I know RAFTA and the city leaders have been having some other conversations about like maybe it looks a little different in Valley towns, and what could that look like. I'm hopeful that those conversations continue. We are having some change in leadership because Rifle and Silt had their municipal elections yesterday. Silt won't change too much. They're losing one of their councilors and getting another one, it looks like. And if our mayor was appointed. So we'll see who the next mayor is and how that shakes out. But I don't, based on the election results, I don't anticipate any very like dramatic shifts. So, and to date, honestly, the Rifle Council has been pretty open to having some discussions, and I hope that continues with the new councilors that are coming in. And
I have a
support.
question.
Yep.
And it only came up in my mind in this meeting. If the Silt City Councilors and the Rifle City Councilors, if the Silt and Rifle Council decide that they do want to put that question on the ballot of taxing themselves to be part of the RTA that is RAFTA, maybe Anne has an answer to this question, or you, anyone. What does RAFTA's board have to say about it? Like, does RAFTA's board have to agree to add, the existing board have to agree to add members? Do they have to agree for it to be on a ballot? Like, what's the rules about adding more jurisdictions to RAFTA?
I think that's great.
Oh, good. Go ahead, Sam.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I think that's a great question. I don't know that anybody on this call has the immediate answer. I know I've sat in meetings with where I've heard Kurt say that he's open to it from at the executive level. I would assume the board would have to approve it, but yeah, sure that's an answer we can get if we don't have it.
Yeah, I just wonder, what are all the barriers, or what are all the steps that have to happen if, and I also wanted to make a comment, Hannah, that I think that your citizens group, our citizens group, the citizens group, going to their council, making themselves heard, doing this survey, making themselves heard by council, and then, those council members making themselves heard to the commissioners, I think did probably make a huge difference in, instead of Garfield County taking funding from 700,000 and something down to 250,000, instead of taking it down to zero, I think that pressure from the city councils, which were in turn pressured by their citizens, and informed by their citizens, about what real grassroots support there is for transportation, I think it made a huge difference. So I want to thank you and everyone that worked with you, Hannah, for for that work, because I think it was potentially transformative for Western Garfield County's future of transportation. Even if it's still a little in flux right now, I think it's going in the right direction. So I just want to say I'm excited for the people that may be served by this.
So much, Dawn. It's been like, I don't want to like claim, it's so hard to gauge of like what was the impact of the work the community members did, but that's been kind of my feeling too, that it didn't impact and gave the mayors from whatever standpoint they were at, like it gave them the backing that they needed to take to the county. Like, well, we just had 30 some odd people show up at our meeting last week, like this definitely matters. And so yeah, we're gonna keep it from that angle, because at this point, we're just trying to claw back whatever services might we might stand to lose, but I mean, that's like kind of the story across the board right now, is funding cuts for anything more. So we'll keep engaging and try to make life not get any harder for folks who are already in a tough position. And this is a time when public transit could be really important to a lot of folks who are already struggling in other ways. And yeah, I'm curious about how the method would be if we were to, what the mechanics of some type of ballot measure would look like, and who would need to sign off on that. I have heard rumblings of like other suggestions instead of like straightforward. Oh, I see you, Mary. Instead of like straightforward membership, it would be like, oh, they tax themselves into a fund that funds transportation, and then they can allocate it as they see fit, be that like part to route membership, part to infrastructure improvements, part to, I don't know, some internally managed service circulator. And then of course, if TAPS gets those grant, then rifle and parachutists are going to benefit from some on-demand service. And I feel like if people get a taste of that, they'll going to want more of it, because those are such popular programs. And that would give people the data that they need to really act like a more robust, more permanent ballot measure. Anyway, sorry, go for it, Mary.
I just love hearing about what you're doing, Hannah. And just to like, so I mean, or you might even know this, but RAFTA, I it is circulating throughout RAFTA that we are definitely supportive of what you're doing. And I also feel like, from what we've heard at RAFTA too, is that from our end of it, we're looking for ways to make sure that that hogback line continues. So I think I know it's coming from both ends in terms of what you're doing, and then also from what RAFTA's looking for those fundings to make up for the loss in funds that came from the county side of it. So
I'm pretty optimistic, and yeah, RAP has been wonderful. Kurt has met with me and some of my folks a couple of times, and he was at both the SILT and the rifle meeting. Don was at the rifle meeting as well. And I think that meant a lot, and also was noticed by the trustees and the counselors, and just as a, that means a lot, just to like show up to a space and listen. So thank you for RAFTA's work as well. I feel like we're gonna get to where we need to be, with or without the commissioners.
And Hannah,
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted
Oh, you're breaking up there, Dana.
excited for this effort, Hannah, and it doesn't go unnoticed and helpful.
I don't know for everybody else, but you were a little in and out there, Dana. But I think it was mostly another way to go, Hannah, which is well deserved. Does anybody else have any questions for Hannah? I do, on this note, if maybe this is unfair of me to do, but I do want to put Hannah Klossman on the spot if she's here. I see her there. Just to ask if there is any updates on what RAFTA's plans with the hogback are as of right now.
Happy to be put on the spot. Unfortunately, I do not have any answers for that at this meeting. And we've got some meetings coming up, as Hannah mentioned. So I'm looking forward to movement on this. I think the time is now. So, and Hannah, I was just actually responding to your email. So sorry about that late response. I saw your face and it reminded me. But no, nothing concrete from my end on how that's moving forward.
Okay, thanks. All right, I'll keep us moving along on the agenda. I think next up we've got some discussions on RTCC initiatives. First on the list, some information. Sounds like our mobility resources webpage is live. I don't know, Dana, if you want to try to come off mute and speak about that a bit.
Yeah, if you guys can hear me. I'm gonna pop the link to the mobility resource website in the chat. I think it looks amazing. I appreciate everybody's input on this. Over the summer, I sent out a Google form for everyone to kind of pull in. If you don't see your listing, please let me know. I'm gonna share my screen just so that folks can see it. Let's see. Okay. So you navigate to the mobility program page and then click on RTCC and there's a little resources button. So you can sort by county, service. It will show what kind of features each one of the transportation options has. It has an address, phone number, website, email for almost all of the services. I'm continuing to pull in more services myself since there are some that are not listed. I didn't get a response, for instance, from Bustang or Bustang Outrider, so I still have to input Outrider onto this website. But I think it looks really great. And I was at an event in Eagle County last week and I pulled together a flyer that had the website and a QR code to share with folks at an Aging Well resource fair. So, any questions, comments on the website?
I think it looks great. I wonder if there is so you have a QR code that can be distributed. I wonder if there are any resources for a marketing campaign.
My question as well.
As far as marketing this?
Yeah.
So, yes, I did include, let me get to our strategy matrix here. I did include a link to the flyer in the matrix just as an update, and we'll go through this later on. But I can pop this link in the chat as well. And I'll send it out in our notes too. Yeah. Any questions on that? Oh, go ahead, Tim.
That was my question, and just kind of like that how do this is great. How do we get it out there? And I have because I always do this kind of thing. The Salt Connect is on there twice. It's the first two options. So for what that's worth, it's just looking through the website and noticed that. not a big deal, obviously. I wonder if there's a way for us to create some sort of map or even an interactive type of map that kind of displays where all these services are and even where that an individual is. I don't know how we'd go about creating something like that, but I'd be happy to work on it if that's an interest of the group.
Yeah, I can definitely have our website person create a map and stick it on there too.
Yeah, hey, this is John. We have a GIS person at COG we contract with who could do those maps for us, and then it would get on the website, Dana. So I can put you in contact with Jody.
I mean,
Perfect.
I just think that would be awesome, John, and it would really it would really show, any user what's close to them, but also show how connected we are and where our gaps are in a
Yeah,
way that could be actionable.
I'm all about maps.
I'm also
Yeah.
helpful, or I'm also uh
You are helpful,
willing.
Nick.
Sorry, I was like, I'm helpful. No, but I'm also willing to help. That's what I was trying to say. With providing, we have an example that I could provide you, Dana, that Raft has created a map similar to what it sounds like you're talking about that has like all these different components overlaid on it. So you can click on microtransit and just see where the microtransit is in the region, but then you can overlay it with bike share and transit options. So happy to share that with you, Dana, just so you have that example. And it may not be something that you need, but it could also provide some information that you might want.
Yeah, definitely send it. I would love that. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, and it's GIS.
Yeah, so I see a lot of chatter. I'm very appreciative that everybody wants to link this on their websites. I think that's also another great way to push this out there. So if that is an option for your organization, yeah, feel free to link it.
Yeah, we will for sure. This is awesome. Thanks, Dana. It looks really great.
Yeah, thank you guys for participating and getting me your info. It's an ongoing resource, so I'll manage it. If you see changes, if you see things missing, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Yeah.
Sweet. Any other questions on the website or comments? All right, I'll move into an update on the One Transit Toolkit. We many of you may be aware or heard, but we met with Stephen last week. He did not receive the funding he was hoping to receive for the One Transit Toolkit, which we've kind of been talking about that this AI toolkit that he wanted to create to kind of identify gaps and areas for improvement within the region. So that said, he's on to the next AI focused idea. He's kind of reimagined his strategies around he's calling it a strategic playbook for transit agencies to use AI. The way that I kind of understand it is it's sort of a AI coaching service that he wants to provide with 2 days of in-person workshop and then ongoing 6 months of meeting with the team at whatever agencies looking to do this to help them on how to best utilize all the different AI solutions that are out there to solve issues within the organization that they face, as well as to better utilize their data in a way that doesn't require calling in a consultant or perhaps an extra staff member that they can't afford. The the cost of this is estimated at about $12,000. He has this pilot program going on right now that's half of that, so 6,000 for 3 agencies. So my explanation here is kind of twofold. One is, if this is something that your agency is interested in, or that you are interested in personally, this opportunity is out there for this pilot program. He's accepting applications through, gosh, I want to say it's December 20th. I think I have that right, for the pilot program. And the link is there in the chat. Dana just put it in there. We are thinking the big thing that you need to get started is a problem that needs solving. It's not just we're coaching you in general. If you've got a problem at your agency that you need to solve, and you can present it, that would be the basis for the training. We are thinking of applying as the RTCC. With this issue of gaps in our transit networks. So if the way that it works is he'll take a team of about 4 people and walk them through with these coaching sessions. So if that is something that you're interested in, to participate as a RTCC, reach out to Dana. And we're looking at putting this application together. If you're interested in as an agency, feel free to submit that application. We're just letting you know that this opportunity is out there. Anything to add there, Mary or Dana, after sitting in there?
No, it sounds like you covered it.
Any questions on this from the group? Again, the link is there in the chat for it does a pretty good job of explaining the opportunity.
Yeah, and as Sam said, if there are folks, like if we wanted to pull together, 3 different counties in our RTCC region, or 3 different transit agencies to work on this, and then I could go also as a team member and kind of represent others within the group, we would pay for that. If you are looking at doing this individually as a transportation organization, then that would be your own cost. But yeah, if folks are interested regionally, we have some funding in our RTCC budget where we could pay for that.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions on it, I'll pass it to Dana. We wanted to kind of bring back up our project spreadsheet and work plans, just kind of work through it, see where some projects are, and give people an opportunity to ask questions or ask for help.
Thanks, Sam. Yay, here's our matrix that we worked on, I think exactly a year ago, which is kind of wild. So yeah, just wanting to kind of reflect on where we're at with a lot of these projects. I don't know. I know there are some people on the phone that do have things they can share related to some of these strategies. So I'm gonna pick one that I know is in the works. Let me go to the top. Anne, are you still on? I think Anne might have hopped off.
If you're talking Ann Findley.
Oh, yeah, Anne Findley. Yes.
Unfortunately, I don't have anything encouraging to report. Our Board of County Commissioners has been shooting everything down due to budget constraints. And it's very frustrating. So microtransit went away quite a while ago. The RTA went away about a month ago. And the only thing that we're continuing with is building our new bus barn facility that we had already started a long time ago. And we've been pretty much told that nothing new is going to be approved for quite a while. So it's disappointing. That's all that I have.
Not sure if we lost Dana. I can't see my screen anymore. Or her screen. Oh, there she goes. Let me bring up the project spreadsheet. Myself. All right, can everybody see my screen? Nope, I screwed it up. Goodness, it's like I've never used a computer before.
We got it, Sam.
Woo! All right. Thanks, Ann. Sorry to hear that. It let us know in this group if there's anything else that we can do to support as you know in those efforts, as I'm sure you know the need isn't going to go away, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah, I mean, the need is definitely there. Unfortunately, the BOCC, it gives us the final answer and nothing we can do about it.
Yep, understood. Dana, are you back? Do we have you again?
Hey, Sam, it sounds like I just got a text from Dana and it sounds like she doesn't have a great internet connection and she keeps
Okay.
getting kicked off. So you and I are going to have to
Yeah, no worries.
finish it up.
I'll keep taking it.
Cool.
On this one. So just moving down, I think that the paratransit service from Carbondale to Aspen Snowmass, you know, Dawn, I don't know if you have anything else to add other than what we've kind of already talked about today.
I can add that, well, we have our lovely Hannah Klausman on board and we're looking at, you know, a comprehensive master planning process in the next 18 months. Call me out if I say it wrong, Hannah. But I mean, RAFTA is looking at where our gaps are, what we need to change, what we need to add or take away. So that I think is now in our planning team's capable hands. Hannah asked me my pie in the sky, what do I want for RAFTA? That was part of the vision that I shared with her in a gushy way. And so that's where that is.
Great, thanks. This project for improving bolstering our volunteer driver program to incentivize drivers to sign up. I don't know, is there anybody on the call who was working on this project who has any updates?
This is Carly from Eagle County. We don't really have updates, but we are kind of in the thick of creating our next Aging Well plan. And so I think this will be incorporated into some of our work over in the Roaring Fork specifically. Once we have a better idea of our plan and some funding potential. So not lost, but just sort of still in progress.
Great. And as with all of these, as I kind of roll through them here, if there is any assistance that you are needing from the RTCC or another member of this group, feel free to bring it up. I'm not promising anybody's ability or time, but I just, this is an opportunity to say, we need help on this one. And that's totally fine. Um, so additional service capacity from Denver to Grand Junction. I I don't know if Dana has anything on this. I know that Mustang has been working to increase this already. So I mean I think that this is well underway as CDOT just saw it or DTR sees it as the need. I don't know if Erin Kellican's still on, and if she knows anything about those plans. It looks like she's dropped off.
I do remember Mustang increasing trips this past summer. Um, I want to say they added 4 more trips from, it might have specifically been Wood to Grand Junction. Um, Let me reach out to Ben at Mustang on that.
Mhm.
Um, and see what kind of movement there has been. I do know in some earlier conversations this year with Mustang about increasing service for Outrider, which goes to other rural places in the state. They were not able to do that or even entertain a conversation really around it. So, um, yeah, I think expansion of some transportation services state level is probably going to be dismal for a little while.
Um, I will say that sort of on the Mustang and additional service capacity from the areas like Grand Junction and Denver to our region. The Eagle, or not Eagle, the Aspen Airport is anticipating to shut down in 2027. So in a couple years, we at as the elected officials transportation committee staff are it's on our work plan for 2026 to um, find some ways to get people here from the other airports other than driving their cars. And one of our hopes is to um, continue to reach out to Mustang, but we would love to see a Mustang service coming up to Aspen Snowmass up the valley to help us with this issue because I mean as I think everybody in this group knows there's no other transit connection that goes from Eagle, Denver, or Grand Junction direct to Aspen Snowmass or into the Roaring Fork Valley really at all. And we see it as if we're successful in continuing to get people to come here without an airport, we see a big traffic problem.
Sam, we don't currently have guaranteed connections between Mustang and RAFTA. We do have a few times that line up that makes sense for people to get off of Mustang onto RAFTA, but we don't have any guaranteed connections between the two. Obviously, that would be a logistical huge difficulty. Also, we didn't get our the actual building funded for the West Glenwood Regional Transportation Center, as you may know, but we're looking at a happier platform there and maybe more shelters instead of just the one. I think it's going to be 9 shelters and 9 platform slots, but that's not, I think they're breaking ground potentially next April. But I think the more we could, like, if EOTC moving forward could coordinate something between like RAFTA leadership and Mustang leadership to talk about that coordination so that when people get off Mustang and onto RAFTA to get up Valley, whatever we can do to ease that transition, that would be maybe wise.
that's great to hear, Don. I appreciate that. It's a good idea. I think our first goal is going to be to get that that reliable one seat public transportation ride from the other airports into the valley. But if we're not able to secure that, yeah, maybe a logistical solution is the right way to go. Great. I'm going to continue to move along to our focus mostly on the high priority strategies. But if anybody does have a comment on some of these other ones, feel free to jump in. For the One Transit Toolkit, we just gave that update, so I don't think there's much more to be seen there. Improving first last mile accessibility for those who use mobility devices and for whom connections are a challenge. I think that's a certainly a big overarching goal. I don't know if Dawn or Anne or if anybody has any actual updates on that, but or ideas.
I can say that in our service area, the microtransits that we have available, Aspen, Basalt, Carbonell, Snowmass, well, you don't have microtransit, you have like on demand, like you have hybrid stuff. All of those do have, I've heard from people who sometimes ride paratransit that they've been able to take some rides on Ride Glenwood on demand, and if they just put in the app that they're using a mobility device, been helpful for them. And all of the RAFTA buses are accessible. I believe all the bus stands are accessible. So I think that in the places where there is service, it seems to be going pretty well in our jurisdiction anyway. I can't speak to outside of the region. But there are still gaps, like, that paratransit between Carbonell and Aspen and Snowmass Village. But where there is existing service, it seems like we are meeting the accessibility. We're meeting I'm not finding the right words. Not just the requirements, but actually I think we're meeting the spirit of the ADA, and people who use mobility devices are able to utilize the services that are there.
I think I think one of the gaps could be, and I don't know if anybody from Basalt is on or Glenwood. I think I saw Lee and Catherine. If their first last mile connection vehicles are currently ADA accessible, I don't know the answer to that. Basalt Connect or the Ride Glenwood.
They have a number, like they have an accessible vehicle available. Not all of the vehicles can take a mobility device, but they have the ability to get that vehicle when one is needed.
Yeah, 2 out of the 4 vehicles that we have in Glenwood have lifts. And we do about 70 wheelchair rides a month so far.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's great. I'll hang on this more rideshare options, affordable and friendly one. I think it's continuing to be more and more ubiquitous, the need for this and the desire for it. I don't know. I mean, I saw Erwin was here. I don't know that it looks like he's dropped back off. But
No, I'm here.
you are here, Erwin. Do you want to give us any kind of updates on what you're doing throughout the valley on this subject?
Sorry, what was the subject?
Just more rideshare options that are available just throughout the region. I know you sent me this morning that you had a couple updates on some other areas that you were working with.
Yes, so we are launching a ski group, a carpool ski group for all Colorado, and where each ski resort is gonna In the group, it's going to be announced by ski resort what kind of perks they offer to their visitors. So we would love to have Aspen on board. I know we have A Basin, I think Monarch, Loveland. I'm trying to reach out to some other ski resorts, but it's hard without an intro. So that's why I was asking you this morning for Aspen Snowmass, because I think they would be interested in that. Yes, we're talking about parking integration for carpooling. So we're trying with the town of Vail. It's a bit complicated with their parking provider. There is a third party, but also with the town of Aspen. There's a strong interest in offering free parking to carpoolers to Aspen. So we started talking about that. And then we're expanding to Idaho, Bogus Basin, which is a ski resort by Boise, the size of Copper Mountain, is partnering with us so for their employees to go to work, but also we're going to launch a ski group for all Idaho. I have several ski resorts there interested for a ski group as well, like in Colorado. Yeah, I think these are the last updates.
Great. And then Mary, I don't know if you have an update for us on where the single app, and this relates to a couple of these things for the downtowner services in the valley is at.
Yeah, I do have an update. So Downtowner is planning on rolling out their single app for all of the downtowners in the region. That includes Aspen to Glenwood in November. Glenwood is already a part of that particular app, so it would be the other jurisdictions would be added onto that. And then this is another project that Dawn and I realized we had crossover on. The short version is that the paratransit software is going to be expiring in the upcoming years. And RAFTA has already been kind of looking at various times, looking at a unified app that would be able to draw together a lot of these things. But we found that there's been a lot of caveats over the years to why we haven't been able to bring all the apps together in one app. And so Dawn and I are just doing some preliminary research on this. And again, this is something that we have unofficially proposed and are waiting to hear back on at a meeting that we have next week. But there has been support from our FLMM Board Advisory Committee, who directed RAFTA staff to be looking at this. So we do have support from the board. And so Dawn and I have kind of decided that this is something we can work on together, given her need for paratransit software upcoming.
Right. On this, then again, this kind of hits two of our strategies here. On this topic, I mean, we obviously have a lot of momentum, acceleration, excitement in the Roaring Fork Valley. That said, the Roaring Fork Valley is far from all the Northwest Cog. So I assume that there's a interest, excitement around microtransit type services in other areas. Please reach out if so we can kind of show you what we've done, what it looks like, what it costs, and it would be great if this continued to expand throughout the valley or throughout the region, I should say. So
Is anyone from Parachute on the call? Sorry to interrupt you,
I
Sam.
don't
No, you're
think
I was at the Rifle City Council meeting where where Travis, gosh, I wish I could remember, what's Travis's last name? Who's the
Elliott.
town? Travis Elliott was presenting to the Rifle City Council, and they were talking about potentially if if the right grants, I think, actually, I'm not sure if it's dependent on grants going through. They're talking about contracting with Downtowner to utilize, to help them run PATs. So I think that, regionally, that ties into a lot of what's happening in the Roaring Fork Valley. And then, I spoke with, just off the cuff, with the Downtowner CEO after our last FLMM meeting. And I was like, hey, think big, statewide. Let's get it. So I don't know, if that statewide piece is happening, but I'd love to hear from anyone else who is working on, coming out with apps that unified, like thinking about unified apps regionally.
Yeah, I'm wondering, Jonathan Flint in Steamboat or Anne and all looking at anything like this with your regions and your RTA?
For us up in Steamboat, it's probably a little bit early with the RTA. But yeah, that's definitely something that's on the table.
Well, keep us moving along. But yeah, I think some of these things end up being very Roaring Fork Valley focused. And I just want to make sure to, if there are updates from other agencies, or if you're interested in these types of projects, please reach out. Low cost regional fairs for older adults. I think Dawn and Mary, we had a nice presentation on this. I'm not sure if Hope is on. I think I saw NYCCI, but I don't know if they have any updates on their efforts in this realm. And WCCI, I should say.
Yeah, Hope, I don't know if you want to, yeah, I don't know, Hope, if you want to come off mute and chat a little bit about that. Maybe she might have stepped away.
No worries. Do you know anything about it, Dana, about what Hope's working on?
Last I knew, NWCCI was not participating in their NEMT program anymore
Okay.
because just the whole system was not serving them. They were not getting reimbursed on time, folk rides. So they ended up kind of funding that themselves, services. That is the last I know about what they're working on.
Gotcha. Well, if we end up with Hope again, we'll ask her if she has anything else. I think we've covered these couple here. I'll keep rolling along. Advocacy plan through RTCC projects to explain to the public, additional partners, develop advocacy tools. I don't know that we've really had the opportunity to focus on this in particular. I think this is kind of the ongoing work of most of us here. But I don't know if anybody had any comments on this. I'll open it up if you do. I think this what are other communities doing information tool. I think this is really it's really a hope of what Steven's doing. Dana, maybe we should talk offline on this one, because if we do end up going down the path of utilizing him, I know that's what he talked about when we talked to him last. Perhaps part of whatever we utilize Steven's services for could be focused on this what are other communities doing information tool. It seems like something that AI is primed to do for us without without taking the people hours to get us there.
Definitely. Yeah, I like that idea. Developing some
Yeah.
advocacy tools for the RTCC. I think the flyer that I developed for the resource hub it's two-sided, and the first side just explains and very quickly what the RTCC is, what our goals are, and then the back has the QR code and link to the resource hub. So if anyone wants to help with those pieces, I think we have a good template that we can work from and kind of uh, keep moving forward with how we want to advocate and how we want to share out our successes.
Yeah. This include elected officials and RTCC meetings. I don't know, I don't think John Stasny's still here, but I mean I wonder uh Dana, if these meetings are something we should be inviting the Northwest Cog um uh larger Northwest Cog members to be able to attend, to at least listen in, if not provide updates. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. That was what I thought when I saw it.
Yeah, I think we certainly can do that. I do provide updates at our COG council meeting around the RTCC, but I think whether it's county commissioners or elected officials always is really helpful in this group. And I think when Steve Child was the chair, that he kind of set that precedent of like, okay, I'm a county commissioner, I'm going to show up and support this group and have a little bit more decision-making power. So yeah, I'm happy to open it up to the COG membership. And if you all are like, hey, I really want someone else to attend that has decision-making power in addition to yourselves, please let me know, because I think the way that we're going to showcase results is if we have decision makers at the table.
Great.
And I would say, Sam, the presentation that you and Mary and Dana gave at the last COG Council meeting in Glenwood Springs, it was so lively and went overtime because so many of the commissioners and other interested parties at the meeting were really engaged in that. So I would echo Dana. I mean, Dana always does updates and everything. And I also think that maybe it's not the whole membership, but like Patty Clapper was super interested. So in the same way that Commissioner Child represented, maybe Patty is that person now or somebody else, because it was such a great conversation at the council meeting.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm happy to continue doing that. I don't know if how John would feel about us being there for those conversations more frequently or quarterly or biannually. But I agree, Aaron. I thought that it was very people seemed to get a lot out of it.
Yeah, I think Sam and Mary, if you're able to attend the COG council meetings and share some updates on behalf of the group, I think it's more impactful than me sharing with them. And then, it could be like a once a year thing. We present to COG council, like this is what we're doing, just like a big project dump for them. I'll make sure that you're on those COG Council invites, and then I'll also add folks from COG Council to.
Great.
That sounds great. That would be great to participate in that.
This internal recruitment plan for Fresh RTCC membership, that's one I don't know anything about. I don't know, Aaron or Dana, if y'all have any information on this. Or Hope, if Hope's back.
Yeah, this has been a really good
No,
exercise for me. Yeah, because I was like, oh, it was a long time ago since Dana and Hope and I looked at that. And I think it was one of those things a year ago. We had a lot of momentum on working on it, and I dropped the ball in continuing that. So I can get back with Hope. Did we create a flyer? I feel like we got that far, did we? I can't see. I don't know if you're sharing the screen, Sam, but we're all still looking at um the website. So if you could share screen and we could look at the Excel spreadsheet, that would be wonderful.
Just the worst. Does that show it?
Almost. Yes.
My
But see,
God.
Dana has developed a draft flyer. I thought maybe we had gotten that far. But I do know back in the day, Hope and I did have a conversation about it as far
well,
as creating
I'm double.
some.
Oh, it was in and out. We gotta move Dana closer to civilization at some point. Don't tell her I said that. Maybe we can.
I am in civilization. I'm in the middle of Chicago, so
Oh my God.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I just think it's bad luck. And Aaron, to your point, it's the same flyer that I've been talking about. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can
Yeah,
hear
we
you.
could hear you.
Okay, I think we can use that flyer as a jumping off point, as a template. So yeah, let's get back together on that because now there's
Not sure. Is
kind of
my
a
screen
starting
sharing
point.
that flyer?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can see it, Sam.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, looks great. Just continuing down this driver retention program thing. So I don't have anything sort of formal to share, but what we have been doing in Somas Village, and I'll fill out that project plan, Dana, and have some resources possibly to share with some folks. We've in the past few months had done a couple things. One, we created driver a recruitment video. It's about 2 minutes long. Jonathan Flint, it was inspired by Steamboat Springs' video. Thanks for doing great work up there. But we did that. We've also we kind of looked at our driver pay scale and realized that we weren't for a long time we were just hiring everybody at the bottom of the scale instead of kind of better rewarding them for their past experience. So we created a formula based system for giving people a raise or a higher entry rate depending on how much experience they had, as well as retroactively, or not retroactively, but changing the rates for people that we hired in the past few years to allow us to some internal equity. We got some support from our town leadership on that, and we think that that's going to really help us out with both retention and with recruitment. And so far this year, we're fully staffed, which is the first time since COVID. So happy to kind of share that experience, what we've done. but it does seem like things are getting a little bit better for transit agencies in this retention and recruitment world. I know RAFTA has been, on and off fully staffed over the past couple of years, which is awesome. And I think fully staffed for them is like 110%. So it's all really great to hear. I think, job market's changing, which is helping us out, but we've all kind of put our heads together on this, and um, it comes down to housing a lot of times, but the best solutions are when we can hire people who already live here, and we've been having an easier time doing that. But yeah, I'll share those resources. And I don't know if anybody else has anything to share there. Great. That kind of takes us through the project list, at least the high priority stuff. If anybody has anything that they feel like they need to add or has come to mind since we started talking about this, please feel free to reach out. Definitely, if there's a strategy that we think needs to be altered, shouldn't be on this list anymore, should be added to the list. I'd say please reach out to myself and Dana and Mary, and we'll look at getting it added, and or at least discuss it with the group next time.
Awesome. Thanks for pivoting and going through this alongside me, Sam, while I have really bad connection.
Yeah, sorry, I thought I was sharing my
Um,
screen the whole time, but apparently I was just, my inner boomer is coming out today or something.
No problem. I think folks had the agenda and the link to that spreadsheet was in there too, so no worries. Any other updates from partners? I know we just did a lot of sharing, but for folks that are still with us.
I will say that this State Bill God, I can never remember if it's 230 or 260 is
230.
230
Yeah.
is helping. I think a lot of transit agencies, us, I know RAFTA has submitted for it. If you don't know what it is, it's oil and gas based formula funding, oil and gas tax based formula funding for transit agencies to, it's supposed to be for added or expanded services, although I know that RAFTA is looking at it as a solution for some gap filling. There's some flexibility on utilizing it. It's an ongoing funding source, so even if agencies didn't apply for it this past year, there'll be an opportunity again next year. I know that a lot of us are looking at it as a way to either purchase capital vehicles for expansion or expand service. In Snowmass Village, for instance, we're looking at expanding our demand response area to include some more trailheads, neighborhoods that we historically haven't served, and we're acquiring vehicles to do that. So I just it's kind of an update on a bill that I assume everybody in this room is aware of. But if not, please, keep an eye out for that one next year because it's formula funding. You just need to apply for it with a viable plan, and the state's actually offering support through Fair and Peers on putting those plans together. So I see Erwin's hand.
Hey, I just have a question, but it can wait at the end. I don't want to keep everyone on. I think it's just Dana and Mary would answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to circle back to what Mary was talking about earlier regarding the apps. Like there are too many apps, and they were trying to have like one single app. What exactly are we talking about here? Yeah, my connection has been a disaster since the beginning.
Yeah, so I guess I could even kind of front load it by saying that there would certainly be a stakeholder meeting or meetings prior to making any type of decisions on this, because one thing that we've discovered is that there are several stakeholders that would want to be involved in the decision making on one app and how that would look and what services that would provide. So that would be kind of the
One
first piece
app
to it.
for, sorry, is it one
Basically,
app for what needs? Like, what are we talking about?
so one app that would be like the single unified app for like RAFTA transit services, We Cycle services, downtowner services. Like we would kind of start in that direction because those are the stakeholders that have expressed interest. Plus, it would include the paratransit services that are kind of a necessity that Dawn is facing. So that's kind of where it would start. And then if there were other folks that would want to join in on that, we could look at it, but it would be those primary threads that would be included.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Anybody else in the group have some updates about what's going on in their areas?
Yeah, this is Jonathan up in Steamboat, and a few things going on here. One is yesterday, the voters approved the creation of an RTA up here. So that'll include Craig, Hayden, Steamboat, unincorporated route, Oak Creek, and Yampa. So that's going to start at the first of the year. And then for us here in Steamboat, after about 35, 40 years of negotiation on and off, we have finally got an agreement with the ski area to help provide funding for our local transit system. So that's going to be very helpful, allow us to continue and upgrade our services and capital. They also have agreed, our agreement with them is long-term. They've also agreed for short-term funding for the RTA, and that will be long-term funding if other partnerships can be created. So both of those are pretty exciting. And then the final thing, after it's been about a year and a half, we completed our driver's house and on time, under budget, and it provides housing for 32 drivers. So that's allowed us to get fully staffed and ready for the winter season. So that's Steamboat and the Yampa Valley RTA.
That's really exciting, Jonathan. Congrats. That's gonna excited to hear more about how that goes and if there's a way that we can support certainly utilize this group as a resource.
Thanks. We'll definitely be in touch.
Anything from anybody else? Dana, did you want to follow up on that email from Emily?
Oh yes, thanks for reminding me. So I don't know if you guys remembered back in the summer I had sent around the statewide human services coordinated transport that the state is pulling together. A lot of you gave comments on that, so I appreciate that. They are so I'm gonna send that out in the email with our notes from this meeting. And we can just so if you have objections, to it and there are additional changes, please let me know. This plan is a combination of the Intermountain Transportation Regions plan and then also a lot of services that are provided through our regional transit cord. The two, I don't know why we have this plan, but we do. And it's out and we just have to make sure that it looks good. So yeah, we'll do a consent by email. Uh,
Great, and it looks like the IMTPR is already approved. So yeah, if y'all could just take a look at that, that'd be great.
yes.
Well, if there's nothing else, I'll move to end this meeting a little bit early, give everybody half an hour of their day back. Does that sound, any objections? Great.
Doesn't sound like it.
All good. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Sams. Thanks, Dana. Thanks, Mary.
Sorry for stealing all your thunder today, Dana. I feel bad.